Hello and welcome to another episode of Swim Sets by the Pool, where we give you a swim set that you can take to the pool and do so you can improve your swimming. And hopefully, we also will give you some helpful tips on how to swim better. I'm Nathan Cohen. I'm a professional triathlete, and I've been helping people learn how to swim better for about 10 years now.
I'm Greg Harper. I'm also a professional triathlete. Swam in the Olympic trials, once raced Michael Phelps and lost. And yeah, Nate brought us a good one today. But before we get into the swim workout, I guess it's my job to give one tip for the swimmers out there. And my tip this week is short intervals are your friend. Do some 50s with short rest, rather than, do those long 400s and 500s. I think doing short intervals with short rest, with that quick reset of the stroke, will help you accumulate more time swimming better and thus, yeah, helping you improve. And a lot of people will swim long reps, but if they're just reinforcing bad habits after they get tired, partway through the rep, I think it can be a disservice. So, you know, instead of doing your 10 300s or what you're going to do a bunch of 50s and 100s with short rest. And yeah, just might help you out.
Wait, Greg, so are you saying if I'm training for an Ironman, I shouldn't be doing 3 by 1,000 for my main set?
I mean, if you like it, great. But yeah, I would never in a million years. I mean, honestly, I'll do some 300 sometimes, but I just don't think there's that much value in it unless you're very experienced. And if you think about it in the context of swimming, there's a bunch of professional swimmers out there who spend their entire existence trying to keep their stroke together for 200. That's a minute and 30 something seconds, and that's what they're. And then what we're triathletes, and we just think we can just like bust out 400s and be able to keep our strokes together. I mean, it's a little yeah, it's a bit ridiculous, honestly. And yeah, I think short intervals are. I could get someone so fit for an Ironman with 50s only,
50s
100%.
only. Wow. Wow. Okay. Well, that is a quick tip in more ways than one. Quick intervals,
Yeah.
quick tip. So now we're gonna dive into the main set and yeah, we're just gonna jump straight into it. So this set is a lot different from our last episode. Last episode was just casually written on a piece of paper, line paper, slapped on a kickboard, just handwritten. This one is like typed up probably on an Excel sheet because there's like columns and all this stuff. There's a date of when this swim set was and total distance, short course yards in the corner. It's very serious. This is a very serious swim set. So we're gonna break it
Organized.
down. And yeah, it's organized. I honestly don't even understand some of it, but that's
It's
why
too
I have
it's too organized, let's be real.
it's too organized. That's why we have Greg here. He's gonna help me figure this out. And yeah, I know the warm up. I can read the warm up. 300 swim, great. 3 by 100 drill swim by 50 on 15 seconds rest, and then 450 swim DPS, which stands for distance per stroke. Great.
Yeah, and it looks like they have like four columns after. Maybe it kind of we were thinking that there are different intervals, depending on who you are. And at the end it says 15 seconds rest. So the 450 swim distance per stroke, you would pick an interval that gave you about 15 seconds rest.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a pretty standard warm up. I don't think it would really be prepping you to swim super fast, which is what happens after. Um, yeah, and 3 100s drill swim by 50. That's fine. I would rather see like 25 drill, 25 swim, 20, just so you do a little bit of drill and then you practice a little bit. But a
Mhm.
50 of a drill, I mean, like if you're gonna do one arm drill and you're swimming 50 meters, like that might
Mhm.
be a little bit much. But the fact that there's drill in there, I think is a positive. Um,
Yeah.
and in total, yeah, and distance per stroke, 450 swim distance per stroke. I think that's almost like a drill in itself. And I think it's something to maybe not focus on, but to touch on.
Mhm.
Um, in college, we had rules when we were getting back into shape where you could only take 8 strokes per lap. So
Yep.
that's 25 yards, of course. And it makes you, I don't know, be efficient and strong through the water, work your walls a little bit. So I think that's something that yeah, it should be incorporated into swimming, and I do incorporate that myself.
Yeah. So for the warm up, if you were going to change something, would you keep the 3x100s or would you rather see maybe 6x50 as 25 drill, 25 swim?
Yeah, I like that. I probably would go that.
Okay, cool. Sounds good. But 300 at the start, super solid. I think that was last week's warm up
Yeah,
too. Yeah, it was 300. So yeah. But
yeah. I
six,
usually do kind of a 400, but yeah, 300, whatever.
yeah.
It's all good for sure.
Yeah. And for the warm up, would you just not do a time interval, just whatever you feel like, just however much time you need for the warm up?
Yeah, I think that first 600 to 1,000 yards, 600 to 1,000 yards is, yeah. I mean, you could do hundreds and just like hang out on the wall for a bit, pick your nose, whatever you gotta do, and then head out for the next one, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, the interval. Yeah, I like when I write some workouts for people. Sometimes I'll just write 400 free, 4 1s, 450s for a warm up. I don't even get intervals because I'm just like, yeah, just go by feel. It's not gonna make or break kind of your set.
Yeah, and I think that allows you to listen to your body in the warm up because some days you'll have more energy and you'll maybe take a little bit less rest, and that's cool. And then some days where you're maybe carrying a little bit more fatigue, you might need that little bit extra rest in the warm up for like your heart rate to come down or like whatever. And I think being too rigid about it, you aren't allowing your body to do what it needs to do. And that's kind of a huge point of swimming is listening to your body and letting it do the things that it needs to do to be efficient, you know?
No, that's a great point. And it's, swimming's a little bit of an art form in that way. You
Yeah.
can't really like measure it as much, and more on that in the hot take though. That's at the end.
Okay.
Anyway.
Okay. Yeah. Hot take at the end. So are we keeping the 4x50s DPS in the warm up?
Yeah, I think it's solid.
All right, cool. 4x50s. Okay, what are you swimming now? 25. I'm putting you on the spot. 25 short course yards. How many strokes?
I mean, if I do distance per stroke, I always go 8. Sometimes I'll do 9 just because I don't have a coach watching me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, I mean that's just kind of the standard I was used to. I would say like I'm like a 14 to 15 for like a
Okay.
normal set.
Yeah.
So I mean it's not quite 50%, or I mean what would be 100? Yeah, 50% of the value, maybe 60. So
Mm-hmm.
if you take 17 strokes a lap, maybe get it down to 12, 11.
Yeah.
If you can squeeze under 10, yeah, I think that's good. And you really have to like really focus on that rotation, that hip drive, that
Mm-hmm.
everything, setting that anchor. Um, Someone who is really big into distance per stroke is Matt McElroy, and he's one of the best short course American ITU athletes, and he came from nothing at age 20, no swimming, and
Mm-hmm.
now he can swim front pack, at the top level.
Yeah.
And he is like, I love that. So I think it can help people, yeah, understand their body and the water better for sure.
Yeah. I remember when I was swimming for community college, we did some distance per stroke stuff every week. My coach
Hmm.
was almost, we might have done it almost every workout just because my coach was really on that. And he was kind of hard. He like would yell at me. He's like, Nate, you got at least less than 12 strokes. And
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, and I did not come from a competitive swimming background. So I always found distance per stroke really hard, but it just makes you focus on, I think, the things that are important, which is how your body is moving through the water. Because at the end of the
Hmm.
day, all you're doing is using the water to move through the water. And if you're thinking about all this other stuff, you're not going to be focused on that, which is the only thing you should really be doing.
Yeah, right. I mean, that's such an easy thing to focus on. There's like my strokes, not like, oh, all this technical stuff. It's like, okay, take 12, figure it out. And our bodies are resilient. We can figure stuff out. So,
Yeah.
just go for it.
All right, cool. So I guess this is just jumping right into the main set. You want to, they don't it's crazy to me. On this paper, they have all this detail, but they don't even write warm up or main set. They did write
Yeah.
cool down. They did write cool down at the end, but
Yeah, but there's nothing after that, is
there's
there?
nothing after
Uh,
that. So, anyways, so I'm just this is the main set, I'm guessing. You want to go for it?
Yeah. So it says repeat 4 times. 400's free, best average, and there's kind of a couple intervals. 100 choice easy, and then a minute rest. So
Okay.
essentially, it's 4 rounds of a 500 broken up by hundreds. 4 100's best average, 100 easy, with a minute rest.
Hmm.
Yeah. Tell me your initial thoughts.
So for people who may not know, best average is as fast as you can go for whatever amount of duration you're doing, right? So 4x1s 4 times is 1600 at a pretty solid pace because it's only 4 1s and 15 seconds rest is not a lot. So this is kind of like threshold type stuff. Um, I think it's interesting. I think that 100 choice easy on 20 seconds rest makes it a little bit more manageable. So after four, you can kind of like reset and stuff because doing more than that, you start really like battling your mind, I feel like, or at least I do when I'm swimming. So I think having that 100 in, it would be hard to, it would be a hard set without that, I guess. That's my initial
Definitely.
thought.
Yeah. And yeah, I have mixed feelings initially because I mean, best average, like from a swimming world, it's just such a ridiculous effort. Like,
Hmm.
I mean, I'll see, you could see like 10 100's best average, and you see that, you're like, okay, here we go. Like, you're going
Yeah.
to be absolutely roasted at the end. I mean, if you're doing it properly, right?
Hmm.
So when I see that, there's kind of two parts to this main set, and there's more best averages, 50s below, right?
Yeah.
1600s as best average, it's like, is it really best average anymore? Like you said, it's kind of like just probably threshold, right?
Hmm.
Um, because like, yeah, you just that's 1600 of like very solid. I mean, best average is it's above threshold, like in the swim
Yeah.
world. It's not. It would just be like 4 100s hard or solid, like that's
Yeah.
threshold. But best average is just like it's so like it's like primal for somewhere you're like best average today. Like this is going to
Hmm.
be a killer workout. So it seems aggressive, and I'm not really sure that anyone could really attempt this workout like adequately. But like 4 100s, good solid average kind of threshold with 100 easy. Like I like that's a good set times four. I mean it's hard, but it's solid.
Yeah. Do you think the 1 minute bonus rest, I guess, after each 500 is good too? I personally, I don't think I would do that in my kind of set. That feels like I remember when I used to swim with masters, they always used to do like the masters bonus like rest. It was like
Yeah.
bonus 30 seconds, then it would turn into 2 minutes somehow, and then it was.
Yeah.
But I personally, I don't really do too many sets where it's like an additional minute rest.
I mean, you're already swimming 100 easy, so maybe it's a bit overkill.
Hmm.
Like I would say if you're doing it with buddies, you all do your 100 easy, and then we're all on the wall, like, all right, we ready? Like, let's go on the bottom or let's go on the
Yeah.
top. So it's probably more like 20 or 30 seconds. But I think, but to the workout's credit, if you're really doing best average, like you actually might need extra, more too. So
Yeah.
it's kind of a weird, like, I don't quite know what the author of this set is really trying to get out of the swimmer with this.
Hmm.
Um, I'll do a set just like this actually, but it'll be like 4 rounds of 4 100s on like FPSO, fastest possible send off.
Mm.
So like it's the kind of the fastest interval you can make, then you reset. And it's about making that interval rather than like blasting yourself. I mean it gets harder.
Hmm.
Yeah, anyway. But okay, so after that, we have that set, and then it goes into 100 drill swim by 25, and then 100 free easy, which is, yeah, I mean, drilling after that, probably a waste of time, honestly. Just swim easy.
Yeah.
Especially because there's more fast swimming after. Like, we don't need to be doing drills in between, probably.
Yeah.
But in the end, it probably doesn't matter that much.
Yeah. So I'm gonna throw this out there. I would do 4x100s if we're gonna make the set a little bit more digestible for the person who is gonna listen to this episode, maybe use this swim workout for themselves. I would do the 4x100s as threshold or like hard, whatever you want to call it. Um, Keep the 100 easy and then just do like 30 to 60 seconds rest after that 100 easy. Like whatever, like what you said, leave on the bottom or the top, whatever works out for you. Um, but then I would keep the 450s, which is the next part of the set, as best average.
Yeah, I think that's a good thought for sure. Yeah, and so the next part is 450s plus a 50 easy. It's the same set.
Mm-hmm.
It's only 250 yards instead of 500. It's half the interval.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, and I think that's true. I mean, because 50s like threshold, it's like it's so short that that doesn't really make sense that much, you know? So
Mm-hmm.
you're really just going super hard. And in the end, your heart rate's not going to, I mean, it'll get really high at the end, but you'll come down quicker than that. And then in 100. So I think you're kind of spot on with that. 450s best average. Just let it rip.
Yeah.
And then, you know, you could even take 100 easy after that, right? I mean, just to like keep that speed high.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's a good point.
Yeah, especially since in the set they kept the same amount of rest, so they still did 15 seconds rest for the 50s, like they did for the hundreds, and 20 seconds rest for the pull down 50, which I agree with you. I think I would just do 100 for that.
Yeah. The rest is interesting. I feel, I mean, it's all about like what the coach is trying to get out of the swimmer. And it's like doing 50s best average with 15 seconds rest is like, it's a completely different set than doing best average on the minute per se. I mean, say you're going, like if I were to do this set, I'd be like, all right, well, let's try to like rip 25s or 26s on the 50s or something.
Hmm.
Doing that on the 40,
Yeah,
that's ridiculous. Like for a best average set, right? I mean, you
yeah.
definitely would be doing on the minute at least double over double of what you're swimming as a true
Hmm.
best average. Because
Yeah.
it seems like the point of it is to get fast, right?
Hmm.
All of a sudden, the next round you're doing 28s and you're going them on the 40, and it's like it's a completely different set. So um, that's when the lingo is a little contradictory. Like if I was gonna say do 450s on the best average, I'd be like do them on the 130, absolutely
Yeah.
rip the 50s.
Yeah, that's true. Because you want to be able to give your best effort for it's best average, you want to give your best effort for that. So
Hmm.
having that extra rest is definitely key. So it kind of just makes it just fast, like or hard, It's just like 450's hard because it's not going to be quite as fast as you would be doing if you're really going for that best average. So,
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and yeah, it would just be yeah hard to do, but you know if you're a swimmer or a triathlete and what the coaches get, like we don't have as much context, right? But
yeah.
you know, I would say 450's hard on rest 20 or 450's best average on a harder interval for sure. And I think you're kind of spot on with that.
Yeah, so what do you think? And do you think we should change would you change the 50s to on the minute or I guess what range of rest would you give? Like 30 seconds to a minute rest?
Yeah, I would say like kind of double what you're swimming plus
Hmm.
10 seconds or so.
Yeah.
You know, if you're doing them on 25, do them on the minute. If you're going to swim 35s, do them on the 120. I think that would be a decent gauge.
Yeah.
So yeah, kind of double your swim time
Hmm.
plus 10 seconds. And knowing that the 4 100s before, that was kind of some threshold work, the intervals maybe a little tighter. Here, you're a little more fatigued. We're going to give you that. We want you to
Hmm.
swim fast, but we're going to give you a lot more rest.
Yeah.
And I think that was like, I think that's a proper way to structure the workout. You know, especially if you're doing 50s fast towards the end, the rest has got to be it's got to be a lot, or else
Hmm.
you're just kind of you're just going to end up going the same pace as the 400 freeze, and then
Hmm.
what you're trying to get out of it is altered. I would say.
Yeah. Or I feel like worst case scenario would be you crush the first set and you're like, oh shoot, I have three more sets. And then they each progressively get slower and slower and slower.
Yeah, and it kind of brings back to what you're trying to get out of it. I mean, that's okay in swimming sometimes, like to go for it. Because in the end, maybe you that first set as good as you've ever done, you kind of slowed down, but you tried to hold on. Like that's okay, and you can find out where your limit is, and I think from a coaching perspective, but if you're just dumb and you just blast the first one and then the fourth one of the same set is way slower, it's like, no, you just did a terrible job. But if
Yeah.
your sets slowly get a little bit slower as the kind of the lactate builds and you're just like you're feeling a bit sick, I mean, like this is like a make you throw up type of set. I mean, if you're hungry right after this, you did not work hard enough.
Oh man. Yeah. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Okay,
Yeah.
so yeah, 4x50 is fast. And I think depending on what level people are at, you could do one set, you could do two,
Yeah.
you could do four. I think the person swimming this set was probably more on the experience side because that's 2400 of quality, like high end speed. So just kind of where you're at with this, you don't have to necessarily just do four sets. You could start off with two or whatever, or one even, depending
Yeah,
on where you're
that's a
coming
great
from.
point. Or you can go two on the first, the 4 100s, 2 rounds of that, 2 rounds of
Yeah.
the 50s.
Hmm.
I think that's yeah, depending on how long you are. So I think that's a great point. Because yeah, I mean, 4 rounds of 450s like best average is that's a lot for sure,
Yeah,
and would
that is
take
a
an
lot.
experienced swimmer to do that.
Yeah, and I agree doing the 100 rest after the 50s, it just like gives you a little more time to chill. I feel like
Yeah,
50 easy, your heart rate is still going to be racing pretty
yeah,
much.
yeah.
Um,
That 100 is kind of that sweet spot.
yeah, for sure. And then after that's just 1x50 drill swim. I would just take that out too, like before.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, it says 150 drill swim, then a 50 easy, and then it says cool down.
But there's
I
no
don't know
cool
what that is
down.
supposed to be. Like, just swim 300 or 400 easy after that set and call it a day.
Yeah, that's the go-to, 3 to 400 cool down.
Yeah. Yeah. And, maybe flow, do some double arm backstroke, whatever, and open up the lats a little bit after.
Hmm.
But yeah, you're probably not going to feel super. If you did this set in entirety, yeah, you'll cool down, but you're going to be a little bit like, all right, I feel interesting now. Like, yeah, it's kind of a killer of a workout for sure.
Yeah. So where would you put this swim workout in a week of training? Because for me, this is a set I'd want to know I have in advance because I would be taking the day before like a little bit easier. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, kind of how we've written it, where you do like maybe 1600 threshold or so into like
Hmm.
800 of like really quality. I mean, I guess this depends on who you are and what swim background you come from. And if you're actively trying to improve your swim or just kind of maintain, or if I did a workout like this, the rest of the week of swimming would not be that crazy. I
Hmm.
mean, I would almost rather you see half of the quality in this workout spread over 2 workouts
Hmm.
rather than like do 2400 of like this much intensity.
Hmm.
Um, but like I said, if you're a professional, like yeah, maybe you do it. But if you're an amateur, it's like that's a lot of quality that might take away from your bike and run. What else you got going on this in the week? But this set as it's written, you're totally right that you'd have to plan in advance a bit. And probably on a day maybe where you're kind of doing like an easy ride or run as well. I
Yeah.
don't know if I would really stack this with other stuff.
Yeah, for sure. This would definitely be a workout too. I would do more in the morning, so I'm not like carrying the fatigue of the day. I would just start my day and just have everything else be
Yeah,
couch time and cookies
yeah,
and stuff
nap in the
after that.
afternoon.
Yeah. Um, yeah. I typically when I do my threshold sets, it's the first workout I do in a day.
Yeah,
And just so I can really focus on it and like prepare for it. And also pro tip, if you're going to the pool, the earlier, the better. There's usually less crazy people early in the morning.
yeah.
You don't want
Well,
to, you don't, sorry, let me be a little more specific. You don't want
no,
to
no, go
go
ahead.
right when the pool opens because those are the hardcore people. You want to go 1 hour after the pool opens. That's when you want to go because the hardcore people have left, and then the people who you probably don't want to swim with are not there yet because it's too early. So yeah,
I feel like I do that same thing for sure.
yeah, 100%. Okay, so that's the swim set for today. As always, I'll put the changes we made into a nice organized swim set with a lot less columns than this one has in our show notes. And you can screenshot it and do the swim set. It's about 4K if you do all 4 sets. And if you do less, it could be a nice like 3K workout, you know. So that's that. Greg, close us out. What's the hot take of the day?
Hot take. Yeah, well, I said something about measuring earlier. I had like sent this out into the internet not too long ago, and I said using lactate to determine swimming zones is dumb.
Ooh, okay, dude, I don't even have anything to say about that. I'll
Yeah.
just nod.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Well, that's the hot take of the day. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. It is definitely a good swim set if you want to, like Greg said, be a little sick after.
Yeah. And like always, if you attempt it, you gotta let us know.
Yeah, let us know. Okay, have a good one, guys. See you on the next one.
Peace.